Good evening, everyone. Very impressed by how quiet this room is. I would like to start the October meeting of the Santa Cruz County Board of Education with a roll call, please.
Trustee Acosta? Trustee Kyle?
Here.
Trustee Larson?
Present.
Trustee Roth? Trustee Van Allen?
Here.
Vice President Williams?
Here.
President Sanchez?
Here.
Student Trustee Guillen Martinez?
Here.
Student Trustee Emor?
Here.
Thank you. Did we get any requests for board member remote attendance participation of remote? Yes.
We have no request for remote attendance, President Sanchez.
Okay. Moving along, I'm gonna ask our superintendent to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm gonna ask those who can to please stand up and join us.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving along, we're looking at the approval of the agenda, or if there are any modifications that we want to make to the agenda.
I'll move.
I would like to make a modification.
Okay,
I would like to move 11.7 to before 10.1.
okay. So moving up the resolution 25-45 to the reports and discussion 10.1.
I'll move with that modification.
Okay, perfect. We have a motion. Is there a second?
And just for clarification, it's being moved to before when? Which item?
10.1.
Thank you.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. Passes unanimously. Item 4 now, public comment. This is an opportunity for anybody in the public to address the board on any matters that are not on the agenda. We will have an opportunity later for a public comment for a specific agenda item, but I do want to open the floor and listen to anybody that wants to address the board, again, on items not on the agenda. And if you do, we ask that you please share your name with us and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there anyone that would like to address the board?
President Sanchez, we do have a number of requests for public comment,
Okay,
starting with Maximiliano Barraza.
Is it this one? Okay, yeah. Hello, board. My name is Maximiliano Barraza Hernandez, but you can just call me Max. I go by he, him pronouns, and I'm part of the Superintendent Student Advocacy Council. I go to PV High, and I'm a junior. I believe that the most important thing when it comes to for student advocacy is to make sure that students' voices are heard and that students are represented, because oftentimes students are just there and their voices aren't heard, or it feels like students are talking to adults, but the students don't feel like anything meaningful is coming out of it. And I feel like that needs to change. But yeah, I trust you guys, and I think, it's going to be pretty successful.
thank you.
Next, we have Ishel Barraza.
Hello, board. My name is Ishel Barraza. My pronouns are she, her, and I go to PV High School. I'm a sophomore. And I come as a member of the Superintendent Student Advocacy Council. I think it's very important for schools to have equal opportunities, equal resources, and have attention evenly divided amongst them. And I think it's important for you as adults in power to listen to kids' voices and not like ignore us and get our opinions on decisions before they're made. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Joe McGinty.
Hello, my name is Joe McGinty, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm a senior at Delta Charter High School, Acabrio, and I'm a trustee there. And I'm also part of the advocacy council that a lot of others here are a part of. My issue that I think is really important, to basically the basis of like what we like schools are about is like making good critical thinkers for the community so students can help change the world. And just I think it's really important for the students to be able to learn a variety of information and be able to determine sources and things like that and just help the world. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Natalie Stott.
Okay. Hi board. My name is Natalie Stott. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm a 12th grader at St. Francis High School. And I'm a superintendent student advocacy council. I'm also ambassador for tobacco use prevention education for the county and also a youth representative for the anti-fentanyl youth organization. And the most important issue in my school is probably addressing student disengagement and finding solutions for student absences and encouraging a more inclusive class environment.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jose Lopez Munoz.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose Luis Lopez Munoz. I am a junior at Escuela Quetzal, and my pronouns are he, him. And one thing I would like you guys to hear out, one of my concerns is more student engagement, student well-being, more hand-to-hand teaching. I've noticed from being tossed around in small schools and bigger schools, a lot of students tend to disengage and almost disconnect themselves from actually participating in class, whether it's playing video games on their computers, using their phones in the bathrooms, or even resulting to using illegal substances in the bathrooms. I believe that these problems should definitely be addressed, and this is definitely a concern for not only the school's safety, but also their own well-being. And whether they realize that this is actually more harmful than they think, I think it should be standardized that we should practice self-care. We should encourage them to basically, how do you say it? Basically acknowledge that their own feelings, their weaknesses are just a part of them, that it's okay for them to be like this. As for the concern I have about more hand-to-hand teaching, this is regarding a little bit about my own personal experiences. I used to have I used to be in 7th grade. I had an 8th grade level class, math. All they did was put a math program in front of our computer, and that's all the teacher would do. Teacher would not help us do any lessons. Teacher would not, help us out. A lot of students struggle in that classroom, but they were too afraid to speak out. I don't think it's good that a lot of schools tend to rely on online sources like Khan Academy or Alex. I think we should have a more tailored learning experience for every student to have and enjoy. And as far as everything goes, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Americo Castillo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Some of you may recognize me, but I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Americo Castillo. I have he, him pronouns, and I am a junior at SoCal High School. I am a member of my principal's advisory committee within my school, and then also an advisor in the superintendent's advisory committee within the Santa Cruz County District. And then to end off, in my opinion, the most important part of the educational system or the school system is equity, accessibility, and
Keep going, sorry.
advocacy among all students. Thank you.
Apologies, I did not reset the clock. Thank you,
Thank you.
Medico. Next is Desi Salinas Holtz.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Desi Salinas Holtz. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a senior at Watsonville High School and the student trustee for the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. As with all of them, I'm with the Superintendent's Student Advocacy Council, and I share a lot of like the same concerns with them and beliefs about school and stuff. And one of my themes at PVSD that I'm trying to do is make sure to have to make sure that each school has like the same opportunities. And I've said it like equitable opportunities for different students. So there's not things like at one school they have that another one doesn't. But that's along with a lot of other stuff that I'm trying to work on. And I'm happy to be part of this group and see what happens more at the county level and what I can bring back to my school district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Amy Vasquez Ortiz.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Vasquez Ortiz. I'm a 10th grader at Watsonville High, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm here from the Student Advocacy Council, and one huge thing for me is student input, especially because a lot of times we get told that our voices doesn't matter, that all that effort we're putting in is for nothing, and that we're not going to be listened to. And that's a harsh thing to take in because a lot of times there's many kids who want to do something, who want to be heard, but we're just not taken seriously. A lot of times students are not being listened to. They're being told that they'll not succeed in life, and that's a huge thing. And I feel like a lot of times we need to be taken seriously and have student input in big school decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Magdalena Orozco Monjares.
Good afternoon. My name is Magdalena Orozco, and I attend to Pajaro Valley Pajaro Valley High School. I am a 9th grader, and an issue I think is great is students show up to school without really wanting to be there, and maybe like not engaging properly with everyone and communication skills. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no additional requests for public comment at this time.
Thank you. Excuse me. We typically don't mention or respond when it comes to public comments, but I guess the pause is good. And also, I just am happy, definitely happy and encouraged that you guys will keep us accountable. You know, I think that's it's good. I think our constituents are the public, are the students, are the parents. So definitely want to hear. And I don't know about everybody else, but I just feel like this year's going to be a really good year. Like I just get that. I just get that feeling. This school year, I feel like there's going to be a lot of good things that are going to come out of it, and a big part of that is the students. So we look forward to continue to hear from each and every single one of you, and about all the projects and accomplishments that will come. So thanks again for taking the time to be here and to speak to us. Okay, moving along, we have the ceremonial swearing in. I also want to give an opportunity if anybody wants to speak to this specific item, make some comments. If not, we can proceed with the swearing in.
I'm going to ask Dr. Stacy Kyle to join me here in front of everybody. I don't mind standing right there. Say this before, yes. All right. So, Dr. Kyle, at its heart, serving on the board, it means serving the children of Santa Cruz County. It's a solemn responsibility to ensure that every decision advances equity and excellence and opens the doors of opportunity for all the students in our county. Our schools are the heart of our community and the foundation of a more inclusive and just society. And now, with that same spirit of service and hope guiding us, it's my honor to invite you to take the oath of office. Please raise your right arm, right hand. And please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Stacy Kyle,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Trustee Kyle. On behalf of the County Office of Education and the County Board of Education, we welcome you onto the county board. Please take a seat on the dais. Thank you. Would you like to take some pictures first? Would it be all right, Chair, if we take some pictures? Wonderful. Yes, we're going to take some pictures first. Could we have the full board up for a picture of the board, and then we can invite family members to join us? Yes, and students, trustees as well, please. Sorry? The board can take a seat, and then we'll have family members join us.
Any family members would like to join Trustee Kyle for a quick photo, please do. You can take the flowers if you'd like.
Off to the side.
Stacy, so happy to have you join us. We're all very excited to have you and the fact that you have made that decision to contribute, give your time to this board and for the students of our community. We're very fortunate to have you, and I look forward to continuing to work with you for many years to come. I'm going to ask if there's anybody on the board that would also like to make some comments.
Sure.
Yes.
Welcome, Stacy. It's nice to work with you at this different level. We had the opportunity to work really briefly together at Harbor High, and I'm so glad that you're joining us and bringing all of your wonderful expertise and your love for education and helping our students. So welcome.
Yes, Larson.
Ditto to what the vice president said, and I also had a wonderful coffee with you and got to know your background and what a great addition you're going to be to the board on top of all the other service you've given to this community. So welcome.
Pleased.
Would you like to make some comments?
No, I'll be brief, because I don't like doing this. I'd like to start by thanking Superintendent Sabah, my fellow trustees, and the staff I've met so far for such a warm welcome. I'm looking forward to working with you all, and I promise to be a good partner. On a personal note, I have felt so loved and supported through this process. It has been truly overwhelming, and I am beyond grateful. During my interview for this position, I cited my village as a key reason I'm able to serve in this role. And you can see many members of that village here tonight, as well as on Zoom. I would love to thank each of you individually for being in my corner, but we don't have the time, and I wore mascara. But I do want to thank my incredibly supportive husband, who has always said, yes, we can find a way. And to my children, who are my greatest cheerleaders. And to my parents who are watching on Zoom, thank you for believing, maybe more than I do, that I can do anything I put my mind to. My heart has always been called to serve children and youth, and it's looked different over the years. I am so proud now to serve as trustee for the communities of Live Oak, Capitola, and Soquel. Thank you for this opportunity. And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting unless you want to. Thank you.
Again, very happy to have you join us and look forward to a great year ahead. Thank you. Okay, moving along, we have item 6, student trustees. And I'm going to start with trustee Martinez. The floor is yours.
This month has been very busy for me in both like school and just in advocating. One of the first things that I've done is like in my group, student advocacy group. Sounds very familiar to student advocacy council, but we've been like advocating for a schedule change in our school because we did get a class taken out of our schedule, and they didn't ask students for their input. They asked the students for their input after they made the decision. And I asked my principal, like, how did that make an effect on what you guys decided on? And he said, well, we didn't use and the ASB teacher said, well, we didn't use your guys' opinion to make this decision. We just wanted to make it seem like we did. And I was like, that's really not okay. But we're meeting with them. We're having different discussions on how we could involve students on the decisions that they make, because it does directly impact us. And we've been doing really good. My group, wonderful students. I couldn't do it without them because they have really good ideas. I have really good ideas too, but I tend to go like very like I'm gonna yell at someone, and I don't think I should be doing that. But they keep me calm and they tell me maybe we should talk to this person, and then that person can help us talk to this other person. It does really work out really good. And right now we are currently working on getting 10 to 15 students and 10 to 15 teachers. So we could get a committee together and find a possible plan to change the class back, to get the class back. Because it is a problem with students as well. There's skipped 300 students a day skipping just one period. That's a big problem. But those students shouldn't affect the other students that do want to go to that period and do use that period. It's flex, so we get to choose any class, and it shouldn't affect how they can use the time. And also, I've been going to like a lot of community events. I've been seeing Dr. Ferris Ball there a lot. It's always a pleasure seeing him somewhere. And yeah, I've been trying to get more students to use their voice and advocate. I think that's one of my main goals is like show the floor to other people and so they can advocate. Because I could advocate for something, but a lot of people know me already. They're like, oh, he's gonna say something again. And but if other people do it, then we have a lot of people doing it. It's a bigger impact.
Thank you. Trustee Emor?
I've also had a pretty busy week with school, and I'm writing this out and I was like, wow, I really did a lot. So I'm just kind of gonna bullet point it. At the very beginning, I attended the LGBTQIA plus student summit, and that was pretty cool. I did a like know your rights thing, and I was like, wow, so many are being violated. Ha ha ha. I'm just not joking. Anyway, and then I did a radio show with Vicente and Andres Ortiz, and that was pretty cool. We talked about like leadership and our experiences as students and with that. And then I also met with Adam Spickler about leadership as a public figure that's like also trans, and so that was pretty cool. I had a good conversation with him. And then I went to the YLLA Youth Led Leadership Alliance, and I met with the Queer Student Union, and that was pretty cool. We talked a lot about like changes we think we want to make and stuff like that, and what are the issues that are going on currently. And then just last Saturday, I think it was Saturday, I went to the 2025 Baymac Brunch, which is sort of like an organization that works to elect queer and allied politicians into like positions of power, just so we know we have like sort of people working to keep things okay for us, you know? Yep, and then I'm working with Stuart Rosenstein to come up with a plan to sort of combat bullying, specifically for LGBTQIA plus youth, because that has been a very big issue. And then coming up, I am meeting with Rob Darrow on KSQD for the Pride radio show this weekend. That's pretty cool. And then I am also going to be further working like for and with my community by attending the No Kings protest this Saturday. So, and I'm also, a lot more stuff is probably going to add on, but that's what I got.
Thank you. Very impressive. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being out in the community and for standing up for what you guys believe in. Thank you. Moving along, we have board organization, item number 7. This is a topic that we've discussed for a couple of meetings now, but because we do have a new trustee with us, Trustee Kyle, did want to add it back to the agenda so that we can assign some committees. So in discussion, in dialogue with Trustee Kyle, has shown interest in joining both the Budget Committee as well as the Community Outreach and Legislative Committee. The good news is that we have space. These committees, we limit them to 3 or less trustees, just for the Brown Act. We want to make sure that we follow the law and then we don't discuss items in quorum, right, with 4 or more people. So given that there is space and given that there is interest, then if there's any questions or comments that you might have, this is the time to share them. But if you don't, then I would be happy to add you to both committees. Okay. Do you accept? Perfect. She says she accepts.
President Sanchez, can you clarify that was the Budget
The
Committee?
Budget Committee and the Community Outreach and Legislative Committee.
Thank you.
Perfect. So then what we do is, I'm sure there'll be an email out, and the next time that there is a meeting, they'll reach out so that it can be coordinated around your schedule as well. Okay. Number 8, we are now at the consent agenda. Questions, comments? And if not, I'm looking for an approval. Okay. We have an...
Move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, correspondence. We receive any correspondence?
None other than the 2 correspondence received in the packet
Okay,
or included in the packet.
okay. Perfect, which we all have access to. Moving along, we're going to discuss the item that was moved up, the resolution 25-45, recognizing Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day with Greg Larson.
And Superintendent Sanchez, pardon the interruption, we do have one request for public comment on this item prior to the presentation. Okay, from Andres Ortiz.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Andres.
Thank you, members of the board, Superintendent Sabah. I just wanted to make a short public comment before this item to publicly acknowledge the work of a fabulous teacher who coincidentally was one of the Teachers of the Year recipients back in May. But I'm, of course, speaking about Miss Brooker, Mink Brooker, special ed teacher at Pajaro Valley High School. And I want to acknowledge her because it really her work in spearheading the Ruby Bridges Walk to School event at Pajaro Valley High School is what sort of helped inspire other BSUs around the county to make it a regular event in November, on November 14th. So last year we added Santa Cruz High and SoCal High that also walked to school during Ruby Bridges Day. This year, both of those BSU clubs are leading the effort for the 2nd year in the row. And we're working with the BSU at Aptos High to add them to the list as well for the first time this year. And then I'm also pleased to announce that Mission Hill and Bransford 40 middle schools are also going to be participating in the Ruby Bridges Walk this year, as well as Live Oak Elementary and Delmar Elementary. So it's something that's really growing year by year. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Ms. Brooker and honor her for her inspirational efforts. So thank you.
Thank you. Larson?
Yes, this is one of 2 resolutions that the Community Outreach and Legislation Committee is bringing to the board, one of 2 new resolutions. There's 3 prior resolutions. This one is just because of the leadership of Ms. Brooker, starting down in Pajaro Valley, as well as COE staff. And when we saw this was recognized by the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, we brought it forward, and staff strongly recommended that it be brought forward to the board as a new resolution for your consideration in recognition of what really started organically out of Pajaro Valley and is spreading across the county now with COE support. And it's just great to have this recognition. So this is a new resolution. And with the chair's indulgence, since Trustee Martinez asked to have this move forward, maybe he could be called on next.
I was at the Pajaro Valley High School walk to school. First of its kind for me. I came from North Monterey County, so it was my first time in this county. And it was very impactful to me because I met a lot of new people. I saw Dr. Ferris Sabal there. Very pleasure to see him all the time. But yeah, I talked to Ms. Brooker and she told me like about the Black Student Union. I was like, oh, that's very impactful to have that. There's not a lot of members in it just because we're in an area predominantly like Hispanic, but it's very impactful to like tell stories. She tells us stories. She brings like cultural clothes. It's very impactful. And then walking there, people chanting, people walking. It was really impactful for people, like even driving by to see that the schools are doing that and that they're showing pride for everyone in the community.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. Larson?
I would just like to ask Trustee Martinez if you'd like to move approval of this resolution.
I would like to make a motion.
And I'll second it.
Perfect. Any questions or comments from the board? No. I like again, the visibility, the outreach, right? If I drive by, I was like, why is everyone wearing purple? Like, where's everybody going? Like, gets people asking questions as to what's going on. And then you start reading, shirts, and it's like, oh, walk to school day. Like, what does that mean? Like, it's a really effective way of getting people to start questioning, start thinking, and start doing some research as to, whatever event it is that we are supporting. So super excited to see that in our community and the support that receives. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Student trustee Gian Martinez,
Aye.
student trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Kyle,
Aye.
trustee Larson,
Aye.
trustee Roth,
Yes.
trustee Van Allen,
Aye.
vice president Williams, president Sanchez.
Yes, passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, moving along on the agenda, we have reports, discussions, and presentations, and we're going to start with the announcement of a Personnel Commission Board appointed vacancy with our own superintendent of schools.
Thank you so much, President Sanchez. So as you know, we are a merit district, which means that we have a personnel commission, which helps to ensure that our employment practices are fair and merit-based. And this is related to our classified staff. So in school districts that are not merit-based, there is no personnel commission. So this personnel commission helps approve everything from our job descriptions, any changes to compensation, and they help ensure that we have that our process is fair, compliant with the law. And the Personnel Commission is represented by three different members. One member is selected by the classified union. One member is selected by the administration, and one member is selected by the board. I said administration. One member is selected by the board. One member is selected by the classified union, and one is selected to represent both. That has to be approved by both the union and by the board. And so what we're doing today is announcing that we have a vacancy because our commissioner, a longtime educator who was a part of, I got to know Mr. Lawrence Lane over 30 years ago in his work as a teacher and a principal in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District. And as you well remember, because you passed a resolution in support of Mr. Lawrence Lane, he passed away in September. And that has left a opening on the Personnel Commission that we are looking to fill. And so the term that Mr. Lane was a part of expires in December of 2026, so a year from this December. And what we're hoping to do is that we've initiated that recruitment. And one candidate, Murray Sheckman, who you may also know, who is also a long-term educator in the Pajaro Valley Unified School District, has shared that he is interested in that position. Now, for legal requirements, the board must hold a public hearing between 30 to 45 days after announcing the intent to appoint. And so our next steps is that after the hearing, the board would proceed with the appointment to fill this unexpired term. And so this is really an informational item for you to know that we will be conducting this public hearing, and then at a future date, we would be able to appoint Mr. Sheckman or whoever else who may apply in this time frame to this unexpired term. Do you have any questions for me?
This one, so does it work just like a similar feeling like a trustee? There's an interview process, et cetera, or is it a little different?
Generally speaking, unfortunately have never had a situation where there
It-
has been more than one
one.
interested party, and we work hard to recruit folks to this. And so generally speaking, our Human Resources Department ensures that the nominated person or the interested party meets the necessary requirements to be successful. And of course, if you'd like to do a deeper dive and get to know the candidates, we're happy to make that a part of the process. But in the past, we've successfully really brought excellent candidates who you've approved, and we've been able.
Yeah, just curious about the process, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the public hearing will be the next.
Correct. We will have a public hearing at the next board meeting.
Any
And-
other questions or comments?
I was just gonna add, and Mr. Scheckman's resume is included in the packet, so you have that ability. Read more about him.
Perfect. Thank you. And because this is just a presentation, there is no action item that is needed. Moving along, we have a 10.2 presentation on COE's role in advancing AI education and integration in schools and districts. And for this one, we have our Dr. Sabah and our CTIO, Jason Burton, and Stephanie Sumarna. Welcome.
If it would be all right for me to do a quick introduction. This actually came from a request from Trustee Roth, with questions about AI. And so we thought it was important to share with you the kind of work that we're doing to support school districts when it comes to AI. We're fortunate to have these amazing folks, Stephanie Sumarna and our Chief Technology and Innovation Officer, Jason Borgen, who are going to be sharing some of the work that we're doing to lean into AI and also be very thoughtful about how to make these tools help students without, and of course, also addressing the risks that they offer to our students in our school system. And so we wanted to share some information with you and allow you to ask questions about the kind of work that we're doing and what the opportunities that AI offers for our students and our schools.
Thank you, Ferris. Good evening, trustees, student trustees, staff. Pleasure to be here to support and give you a transparent appreciation around how we're supporting AI at our COE. So just so you know, AI is a tool and technology, as you all are aware. I've seen it in the news, seen it on ChatGPT and Google, in front of Google searches now. It is one of the biggest shifts we've seen in education in the last 25 years. I think there's three big paradigm shifts. First thing in like the early 2000s in my 25 years in education was email, how email shifted the culture of staff and student and family communication. The second piece, collaborative Google Documents and Google Writing, collaborative writing, integrating and creating newsletters. This is the third big shift in education technology we've seen in the last 25 years or so. So it is a big shift of how we're engaging students, how we're engaging staff, and ultimately how teachers are becoming more productive and working smarter, not harder. So thank you for the time. And we're going to really focus on four main themes today. Giving you a snapshot of what we've been doing around AI education at the COE, talking a little bit about big picture AI in education, how AI is supporting educational milestones and technologies specifically in our schools, as well as statewide and globally. And finally, how we're supporting schools and districts building guidelines and trying to create regulations and support around AI. And finally, talking about the future of AI in our schools and ultimately what we're seeing and perceiving to happen in the future with AI in our schools. And so let's first start with a snapshot, by the way, trying to build good ethics around here. Some of this slideshow was developed with AI, including all these images in here. We used a slide tool called Gamma. Gamma is a slideshow developing tool. You put a prompt in, it'll spit out a slideshow for you. Of course, we did some revisions and vetting on that tool as well. And so really their focus is students first, right? How do we support students in driving their futures, their career development, and their future lifelong learning experiences? Second piece in this effort is community. How do we support our community in educational mindsets and ultimately understanding the future of the workforce, the future of jobs here locally and globally around AI, specifically in this aspect. And finally, supporting the work we're doing and boasting it statewide and globally. Stephanie and I will talk a little bit about the presentations we've presented at and work we've done with Stanford University and a global firm called the Night of the Ideas that is based at the French consulate as well. And so Stephanie will share a little bit about a snapshot of our numbers in the last couple of years.
Hello, board. Hello, Dr. Sabah. Thank you for taking the time to listen and learn and hear a little bit about what's happening in terms of AI education in Santa Cruz County. This slide represents some different numbers that gives you a picture of some of the work that we're doing. So since ChatGPT was launched in November of 2022, we've been working really diligently to help our educators and our students understand what tools like this are, how they work, how they can use them. And we've had the pleasure of training over 600 educators in artificial intelligence. We've supported local schools and districts in developing guidelines that offer opportunities to support ethical and responsible use of AI. And we partnered with 4 different school districts. In our own COE, we've also been supporting our staff in terms of thinking how tools like this might support their work. And we've engaged with over 58 COE staff employees. And we've been lucky enough, Joe was here earlier. She's on my Yeti group this year, but we've been lucky enough to work with students as well and working with them to understand where they see the potential for using AI, helping them to understand how these tools work. So we've worked with over 30 students. We wanted to give you just a little overview of sort of where AI is falling in the current educational landscape.
So there's 3 pieces to consider here. Rapid growth. You may have saw in this image, it took ChatGPT 5 days in production to hit 1 million users. Just put that in perspective, it took Netflix 2.5 years to hit 1 million users. And so it took 5 days for AI to become a consumer phenomenon. And so that was back in the fall, November, just about this time in 2022, just 3 years ago. And it's become quite a far distance from them. And so what kind of opportunities it provides? We're going to talk a little more about the opportunities it provides to improve efficiency, to, as I mentioned earlier, work smarter, not harder, and really focus on unprecedented innovation, right? We look at how it's used in the medical field. We're looking at how it's used in the software development field. It is shifting the workforce today, as we know it, just in the last 3 years. And then some challenges to address. Misconceptions, the ethics, the environmental factors all play a role in all these elements. So how do we make sure we balance that and making sure there's knowledge for our students and staff around all these challenges that these new technologies do face? And so just to put a number to this, McKinsey Research Group put out a report January 2025 on AI in the workplace. And as you can see from this graphic, already, this was again in January, so just about 3 years after ChatGPT, generative AI, came out into the consumer world. 80% of age 35 to 44-year-olds felt comfortable using it already in the workforce. And again, if you ask their employers, their supervisors, the need for AI literacy is a must in the workforce. And so that's a shift of how we're then training our students and our staff to train students to be able to utilize AI ethically, effectively, and successfully. And again, you can see, of course, with any new technology, there is kind of some age factors involved in that. But again, you look at that middle range, as you see, about 90%, is that 90% of age 35 through 44? I'm sorry, it's 90%. And then as you kind of get up and down, that's kind of the impetus of use cases as you're most trained with the new technologies with these in this workforce data set. And then we look at some data around teens access. And so this came from Common Sense Media, as you probably all heard of. Common Sense Media is the national nonprofit, the standard for rating TV shows, media, digital media for parents and families. There's also a scope and sequence curriculum for K-12 students and teachers to utilize in their classroom to teach literacy, digital media, and digital literacy around that. They also do plenty of surveys out there across the nation. And this latest survey, the dawn of the AI era, said 7 in 10 teens say they have used at least one type of generative AI. And this came out when, Stephanie, do you recall?
In 2024.
2024. So this is about a year old as well. And again, some of the data from this said 6 in 10 teens reported that their school has no rules for generative AI that can be used. So that's a big shift. So again, as these new tools come out, they're coming out faster than the regulations are happening. And just last week, you probably heard Governor Newsom signed a bill around limiting the amount of time chatbots can say they're actually not AI. They have to, every 3 hours for youth, they have to say you're talking to AI. And that is new legislation that Governor Newsom just signed last year. This graphic right here, which might be hard to see, hopefully it's in your packet. This came out from UNESCO, which is the United Nations organization. They basically put out ways AI can be used in education. Some of the items here is a possibility engine, a Socratic opponent, a collaboration coach, guide on the side, a personal tutor, immediate feedback. These tools like ChatGPT have a thing called guided learning, as does Gemini. It's a way to give you to help you question to get the answer rather than just giving you the answer. So these tools are kind of backing up and not just giving information, but helping you think like a thinker.
We wanted to share with you just a quick snippet. We were lucky last year to engage a group of educators from across Santa Cruz County who opted in to exploring what this might look like in their classroom. They were called the AI Explorers. We have a second cohort running this year. This is one of our explorers. Her name is Miss Wind. She works in San Lorenzo Valley as a middle school English language arts teacher. And she decided to explore how she could use AI to support her, supporting her students in preparing for CASP. So we're going to make sure that our audio is working. And CASP is the annual standardized test that students are asked to complete.
We'll see if this.
Okay, we're going to check it.
Translating the success in the classroom to our CASP scores at our site, where my students were doing incredible things all year long, and then we get our CASP scores back and it was like womp womp. And so like, how can we translate that? And I was like, okay, one way is maybe just to like change the style of questions, right? Like use the CASP vocabulary, use the CASP question formats. But then that felt really daunting and overwhelming to like, first I had to figure out how to use casp.org or whatever, which is like not a friendly website to click around on. Then I had to become familiar with the kinds of test questions that are asked. Then I had to be, with whatever brain power was left, do the actual rewriting of my curriculum. And I was like, that doesn't sound like something I can do as a human being. And so enter AI. And it was amazing. My favorite was also Brisk, because it will write CASP style questions with the language, and it'll do hot text, it'll do choose to, it'll do the matching. And then I would take that and put it on my LMS and attach the rubric or attach the standards that each question was assessing, and I was able to really track student growth by standard that way.
So what we're trying to do is create these teacher leaders around AI. As Stephanie mentioned, we had a grant from Stanford last year, a small grant from Stanford to actually create AI leadership in writing specifically. So we brought in 6 teachers across our county to build teacher leadership around AI so they can be the ambassadors at their school site. And thanks to support from our COE and a 21 CSLA grant, which is part of the region, and support from Associate Superintendent Russell, we're launching AI Explorers this year with 19 teachers to support that. And we had our first meeting last week we're partnering with a nonprofit called Write the World. Write the World has an integrated AI feature for students to learn about writing. And for those, so CASP is the state testing support. You probably just saw the results come out as of last week, and Santa Cruz County made some large improvements as well.
We would like to share this graphic. It's from a person named Matt Miller who works in educational technology, and he represents here what he calls the spectrum. So I think one of the elephants in the room that comes up when we talk about AI in relation to students, I see people nodding your head before I've even shared what it is a lot of people are concerned about the issue of cheating and how is this going to align or misalign with academic honesty. And so Matt Miller presents this idea of maybe it's not binary, maybe there's a spectrum in which students are supported in understanding where it is or is not appropriate to use AI. So we're really trying to work with students and teachers to help them understand what benchmarks they might develop along that spectrum. Just like Jason shared, when these technologies were available to consumers, it was widely adopted, but the guardrails hadn't been put in place yet. So we're trying to support our county in thinking through what those guardrails might look like.
And with that comes a shift in teaching as well. And so part of our role is to help teachers think differently about the role of how do we evaluate students now that AI is in there, right? So cheating is not new. Cheating's been around since the dawn of time. Students find a way, some students are not find a way to cheat through their system. And how do we mitigate that? How do we focus on shifting classroom practice and supporting, still evaluating students in a successful manner? And so a professor from the Innovation in Teaching and Learning has developed kind of 3 modes: design and develop, refine, authentic assessments. So refine the assessments. Don't just have them take paper assessments or write an essay where they put everything in a Google Doc. Have them actually do a performance task. Do it live in front of their peers, where their peers are evaluating them. You know, student voice in the evaluation process is very important as well. Look at student works in multiple ways. It's not just a summative assessment, one assessment at the end. How do we continue to evaluate students on what they do and show growth over time every day, not just at the end of a unit? And so that will truly tell a teacher if the student is learning or not. And finally, it's not about that formative assessment. Lower the stakes. Don't base a grade off 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests. Ongoing assessments throughout the day is key. And so this is how we can truly evaluate students. And these are the conversations we're having with administrators as well as teachers on this method, because AI is not going away. That's one thing we know. So how do we mitigate the use of how we truly evaluate students in an authentic manner? And so with that, though, there are plenty of benefits and there's also challenges. There is a national organization called Teach AI that's put together some guidelines to guide schools and districts on developing their guidelines. And so you can see some potential benefits they highlight, including creating content. By snap of your fingers, teachers can create worksheets, instructional text, level instructional text. If the instructional text is at an 8th grade level for an English teacher in 8th grade, but the student reads at a 4th grade level, you can easily take AI and convert that to a 4th grade reading level, making sure it's the same content they're reading. Very, very quickly with AI, we can do that now. Assessment, building assessments, as you heard from Megan. But there is also some downsides, right? All these AI models just scour in the internet for information, and then they generate new content. Well, not everything on the internet's true. So it might generate content with false information, what we call hallucinations. So sometimes you can get misinformation. How do we still teach students and staff how to be AI literate, how to make sure they balance that with and they cite other resources that they validate their information they're gathering. Again, making sure there's that balance. You saw that Matt Miller spectrum. It's not about using AI or not using AI. It's how we're going to use AI to catalyze the thinking, but not supplant the thinking. And so again, the idea of the balance and the accountability piece and making sure there's still accountability and creativity involved in the process. And so with that, again, we still need guardrails. We still need to create guidelines and best practices. We, a couple years ago, about a year ago, so now, created our own Santa Cruz County Office of Education Artificial Intelligence guidelines to guide our staff. This is just kind of a guidebook to guide what are the tools they should use, what they should look out for, and what are some things they should be careful on, and how are some ways they can use it to make their lives more efficient. Again, the focus on comprehensive, ethical use and regional impact. And so with that, we kind of develop all of our programs in our ed tech department. So Stephanie and I are the ed tech department here, education technology department, to support this effort. We do all of our work aligned to these three pillars. First, student and community. Focus on students and how do we support student growth in education technology and artificial intelligence, and how do we build awareness and transparency and growth in our community. Second, district and system support. How do we support our districts and ultimately our teachers and our staff and the students of those districts? And third, how do we build leadership and internal capacity within our County Office of Education student body, as well as our staff here at the county office to grow them? And so everything we do crosses all those three ecosystems, aligning to our strategic plan and the bridges model we have aligned to our strategic plan.
It's one thing to talk about how we're supporting students, our community, our staff, and our teachers, but I think it's another thing to hone in on some particular examples. So it can be helpful just for us to share some of the work that we're doing to support those different community partners. In terms of district and system support, we mentioned already that cohort of teachers, the AI Explorers that happened last year and is continuing this year. Those are teachers that opt in and want to be early adopters. We also have districts and schools that are connecting with us that want us to push into staff meetings or to support for more ongoing professional learning. We also have partnerships with districts like Pajaro Valley, Scotts Valley, and Santa Cruz City Schools in supporting their teachers in learning again what these tools are and how they can support education. In addition, we opened a community of practice called the AI Think Tank for teachers that maybe weren't ready to design lessons that included AI, but they wanted to connect with other teachers who are AI curious, just to ask questions and have an opportunity, a time and space to talk with each other. We've also hosted, since AI has been available, we've hosted 2 back-to-school reboots, which is an annual virtual event that we offer free for all educators who are interested. It happens just before the school year starts, where it's teachers talking to teachers about ideas that have worked in their classroom and getting those ideas crowdsourced and shared right before the school year starts, so that they have an opportunity to get some ideas before the fall. In addition, we've hosted trainings for our own COE staff, which is always fun. And we've hosted some opportunities for students, families, and the community. We've collected resources on our website that have resources around AI and AI literacy. We host a Computer Science Education Week community nights in partnership with Pajaro Valley that help expose students, parents, and families to computer science and AI. And in addition, thanks to Andres, we have a cohort in the Youth-Led Leadership Alliance called YETI, which stands for Youth Empowerment Through Technology and Innovation. This is our second year of exploring AI with students. This year, the students are really interested in drafting their own recommendations for what guidelines and safety should be put in place in our county for AI.
And that image, Stephanie, you want to talk
Oh,
about that?
yes. This image comes from last year's group of YETI. We were just exploring different tools, and the students asked if they could work on making logos for their own business. So one of our students, Avery, was really interested in baking and generated this idea for a logo for their baking company using AI.
So as we mentioned, our focus also is to support and boast the stuff we're doing here locally to bring it to a statewide national attention. And Stephanie and I had a pleasure of being invited to the Stanford AI Summit at Stanford University that brought together researchers, practitioners, and academia together, and Stephanie sat on a panel around AI in education specifically. The French consulate puts on an event all across the country and the world called the Night of the Ideas, and we were asked to sit on a panel at 11 p.m. at night in San Francisco on AI and education. And that was an experience as well, a wonderful experience, sharing what we're doing here. So again, we're trying to share the work we're doing. It's been noted and supported and shared out across our local community as well as the global community as well. And I mentioned the AI pilots. I mentioned the grant we received from Stanford recently as well. We've been working with a lot. So the education technology market is a multi-billion-dollar market where these vendors try to sell software and they develop software, and the use of AI in this. There's a lot of specific programs and tools that are startup companies specifically marketing to education and developing AI tools specifically for education as well. And we've talked to a lot of those vendors, engaged with them, and actually had a couple teachers pilot some of their tools to ensure efficacy, effectiveness, as well as use cases for them or their students as well. And so let's quickly bring you to the future of education. Again, we're going to continue the work we're doing, partnering with districts. This year, we have a partnership with San Lorenzo Valley Unified School District, helping run a AI task force that includes students, parents, teachers, board members, as well as us facilitating. It's five meetings, and we are we're developing that task force and facilitating it, as well as the end goal is to create guidelines for San Lorenzo Valley School District as well. As we mentioned, we already did that last year with Pajaro and Scotts Valley Unified School District. Really focus on building our Yeti program and getting these tools to students and making sure teachers are aware, because it continues to evolve, right? What happened last year, we're going to have brand new tools and integrations and support this year. And making sure, number one, student data and information is safe, secure, and people are using these tools ethically.
We just wanted to invite you all to stay tuned, because as Jason mentioned, things are continuing to evolve, and we will be there supporting our community as they do. Our second AI Explorers cohort has a showcase scheduled for May 7th. So we'll keep you in tune with that and extend the invitation for you to come see and hear from the teachers directly, sort of the ideas that they have for how AI can impact education. And again, we just want to support you, extend an appreciation. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to learn and to hear a little bit about the work around AI in our county. And that is a self-portrait that was created by one of last year's teachers using AI.
You want to explain how they created it?
I don't remember. I feel like I'm not.
Prompting.
Oh, yes. Yes. So we worked on one of the key skills with AI, of course, just like one of the key skills with searching online is knowing key search terms. So we worked on the craft of prompting. So we had to work with teachers to support them in understanding how to craft a prompt to generate an image that approximates your likeness, which is more challenging than it seems like it should be.
And it's a great little activity you can do with students, because it helps students write details, because you have to be very, very detail oriented when you write your prompt, making sure your self-portrait looks like you, and the iteration process and making sure you iterate and continue to add details to your writing. And you actually have this nice little product at the end. So thank you for your time today, and happy Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Thank you. I appreciate the report. I want to start with our student trustees. Do you guys have any questions or comments to the presenters?
Yes, I do have comments about AI. I would say that I personally hold a very different view than my peers on AI. I understand how it can be beneficial, but I think that there's a lot more harm than good that's happening right now. I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's something called unlearning that happens with AI. So basically, AI unlearning basically threatens critical thinking by encouraging cognitive offloading, where individuals rely on AI to do thinking for them, which can weaken reasoning and problem solving skills. Over reliance can lead to superficial engagement, passive learning, and a decline in the cognitive effort required to do required to analyze information. Also, there's very large like environmental impacts, such as for the people that live near there, like there's these big AI centers where basically there's increased utility bills, depletion of local water supplies, noise and air pollution, and potential for disruption of quality of life and property values. And then environmentally, through it uses high energy consumption, which leads to greenhouse gas emissions and significant water usage for cooling. So I think that with the sort of ethics behind just how it's being used and produced, I think that particularly for students, there is, sure, you could be saying, oh, this is how we want you to use AI, but AI doesn't exactly get that. It doesn't say, oh, this is your intent, I'm going to do it that way. Like I know for me, like when I was looking for like note-taking apps, a lot of them were AI and it was really just like giving you the answers and it's advertising it as, oh, it's a helpful tool, but no, it's doing your work for you. It's making it so you're not really learning. I think that AI can be useful in detecting AI, like for teachers to be able to see, oh, this AI was used. And I think it is very important to sort of come up with a policy for what we do when we find out that AI is used. Because I've talked to my professors, I was like, oh, what do you do when you find out AI is used? And they're like, oh, we can't really say, or I think there's a really important to like target that because there is a lot less learning going on because of AI. And I think that there might be the distinction between, oh, this is how it could be greatly used, but I think that is also kind of leading to a, you know, the unlearning of, oh, I'm going to basically forget this critical skill because it's easier to just let AI do it, you know? And so that's my personal opinion on that.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing. I don't think that is talked about enough, but it's important to keep in mind for sure.
I thought like it was very interesting, like all the pictures I saw. They were very like high quality, in my opinion. I can rate that. I'm very bad with art. But for me, AI is very useful. Like I use it because I for me like learning is very like on. At least I need to be talking with my teacher. Not all the teachers have that possibility because they have a bunch of other students. So I use it for like notes. I use it for like bullet points. And off of that, I have seen like when I started like using AI for certain things, I started getting like my test scores up. Obviously, you can't use AI during your test because the teachers they're monitoring you. But I saw a jump in my test score grades because I was learning like with like a way that I like to learn. It's also very helpful for like art classes, graphic designing and stuff. I really like it. I like the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions or comments from any of our trustees? Murad?
I'm sorry, Bernice, how fast it is developing. You cannot go onto Google now without getting AI first. And I mean, and that is what, within months, really? The last time I used it was a few days ago. I read a book called Brothers K, which is crafted around the Brothers Karamazov, the Russian novel, but takes place in Washington, 70s. And I used it for a character description because it was just like the Russian novel. And instead of having to handwrite all this, I was able to get it, but also add to it. So, I mean, I see where we've got to go. But I do, Ash, I really appreciate what you're saying. I feel we're on this edge and how we're going to determine whether a student or somebody old like me is verifying what they're seeing from AI. I think it's hard enough to get the information from AI, but then how do you go and check it and verify? That's probably where the gist of this is going to be. So I think that our students and me, everybody, has to again learn how to seek out information. I don't know in this computer world because it's all, I mean, Google, how many years ago, actually copied all of the books in the world that they could. So that is all in there. And as I understand AI, you know, they use what is put in. So they have the original text of a lot of stuff, but how is it going to be used? And how can we seek that original text through a computer to verify what we're seeing in AI? I might be getting a little bit too complex here, but I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
I think it's going to be a real challenge, but it can also be extremely good.
Okay, anybody else? Williams?
Yes. Wow, it's a lot. And I do use AI. I help develop a logo for my husband's business. So it's amazing. I love it. I'm glad I heard Asher say a few things that I had on my list, and one of them was like the environmental impact. It's such an incredible, and it was a discussion I had with my daughter, but of how much power and to cooling that it takes to run these networks that compile all of this information. And I know it's not going away. So the question is, you know, and this is probably way above like what we're doing here, but thinking ahead of, you know, how do we mitigate all of that, those environmental impacts? And I don't expect for us to have a discussion, but it's just something that was on the top of my mind. My question specifically is you mentioned a couple of times successful use. What does that look like for teachers and students? It was mentioned a couple of times, like, you know, training them for successful use of AI. What does that look like for a teacher or for an educator?
You know, I think you heard from Megan share a little bit of anecdote of how she used it to save her time to develop test questions. So that's how does it save you time to do the administrative burden tasks that teachers do after hours or during the school day so they spend more time with students? That's a big piece as far as productivity. How can it be, you know, they don't have a assistant or a secretary. It basically becomes a teacher secretary or assistant, right, in this aspect. So that's what we see has been very successful use. Drafting short communication to parents and families when a student misbehaves to quickly draft it, because sometimes that can be a headache for a parent. This will quickly draft it and catalyze their thoughts, and then they can just vet it, change a couple different words, and then get it into an email. So that's a quick shift of how they can change and not spend 45 minutes writing a one paragraph email because they're concerned about what it can say and how the tone is going to come across. And so when you prompt ChatGPT or other tools, write a friendly email to a parent because blank, blank, and blank, it will draft out and give them an idea, a quick idea that they can then build upon. It's a scaffold. It's not, again, I mentioned this earlier, it's not a supplant, it's to supplement or catalyze their thinking and thought process. So that's what successful looks like. How does it catalyze the student's thought process or creating an open paragraph or getting feedback on their writing? That's success. We saw a fourth grade student use Magic School, one of our AI Explorers last year, which is a specific safeguarded education technology AI tool. They copied their writing into that. Said, can you give me feedback on my writing so I can get help writing 2 more sentences or get more details? It gave them some ideas to think about. They took that, thought about it, and then wrote their own ideas. So again, it's a catalyst in that aspect. So that's what we say success looks like.
And so thank you for bringing up the age group of the fourth grader. So will there be training and teaching at different grade levels? Because I imagine, you know, this, again, AI is not going anywhere. It's just going to get bigger, faster. It's just not going anywhere. But teaching like at our elementary students on this is how you use it. These are the sort of the pitfall, you know what I mean? Is there going to be some kind of leveled education for our students on how they're going to, how they should be using it?
Yeah, what you're articulating is what we as teachers like to describe as differentiation, right? And understanding who the user is and then trying to modify the tool or the strategy based on the user. And yes, and you're asking all the right questions that the teachers that are opting into the professional learning are asking and talking amongst their colleagues to try to understand what does success look like, right? And we're already seeing that teachers are self-identifying, like thinking back to that spectrum of my students are this particular age, these few bullets feel appropriate and these maybe not so much. And then as they get older, adding on some specific tasks. So Jason's example of a 4th grade student using it to support their writing, I think is helpful. Younger learners are could maybe dabble by starting with something like image generation to help them understand the idea of prompting. But yes, teachers are thinking through like what would the different activities look like for different age students. Yeah.
Larson?
3 comments. First, I'm just ecstatic that you're diving into it and you're doing it broad spectrum, looking at statewide and national resources to directly involving students, teachers, districts and schools in the work and thinking it through from that broad spectrum. So just ecstatic for the report and how you're approaching it. Second, on the personal front, I've since June have been trying to do my own broad spectrum experimentation with AI using several different engines for medical research, for writing a children's play, for writing an op-ed, for ancestry and graphic design. And I must say, twice, the whole notion of AI hallucinations just has come back so strongly that you cannot rely on it or trust it. Once in terms of describing its own capability to me, after about 6 hours of it failing to deliver what it said it was going to deliver, it finally said, well, I told you what I wished I could do. I really can't do it. You know, and I had been relying on a product to come forward and it couldn't do it, but it was trying to make. 2 other just factual inaccuracies from what it's told me previously. You know, so the real concerns. And third comment is just going back to what Ash and Vicente said. My kids are abhorred. You know, they have as much antipathy towards AI as they do to many things in the world. So much so that if I mention an idea or a subject came from AI to one of my children, they don't want to hear about it. The other funnier story is when my son was telling me about the environmental and futurist concerns of AI's growth and how he now believes that's of greater peril to his generation than climate change. So I crafted an op-ed for him and I to submit, which he was all on board for after reading it, until he learned it was co-drafted by AI. So that ended our joint op-ed.
I just wanted to begin by thanking Trustee Roth for requesting this presentation. It's, for me, a great introduction to what you're doing, and I'm so thankful for the work you're doing out in the schools. I think it is important. It's, as Trustee Williams said, it's not going away. And the perspective of schools to just sort of push it to the corner and say it's not allowed is not realistic. We have to teach our kids how to use it responsibly because it's waiting for them in the work world. And Stephanie was the first one to introduce me to AI as we were working on newsletters for the Live Oak Education Foundation. And now I have experimented more and have clients that actually will say, run it through AI. They're more proactive than other people, but certainly as a grant writer who works outside my field of expertise, if I'm working for a healthcare institution and I do not know what this piece of equipment does, running it through to, what are the benefits, what are the pitfalls, what are the patient outcomes, super beneficial. And then because I don't know if it's accurate or not, I have to ask the experts, okay, please review this before we submit anything. So great tool, very handy and useful for students as well, I'm sure. However, I share Trustee Amore's concerns, and I'm wondering if the environmental implications in particular are expressed to the teachers as well as the students as they're using it, because this generation, I feel, is so motivated to solve the world's problems. And I hope they do a great job with it, but I could see them tackling the mitigation of the environmental impact of this in some, real substantive way. So I guess that's my question is that part of the outward education on this?
We get a lot of questions from teachers because it's on the teachers' minds too. And yes, we definitely mention the amount of power the NVIDIA graphics cards and graphic processing units do take in these big data centers. And that's a big shift. And we're trying to, how do we regulate the use? When do we do and again, this is part of the ethical use. When do teachers or students use generative AI for a search or a query, or when do they just use a traditional search engine? And moderating that. And that's kind of the conversations we do have in our meetings. And again, this is all about literacy, right? It's all about big picture umbrella digital literacy. When you use this digital tool, when you use this digital tool, when you use that digital tool, or when you use no digital tool. And this is all under that umbrella of digital literacy that we've taken a big leadership role on as well, because it is a bigger picture. It's not just AI. It's not just Google. It's a bigger picture. How do we become efficient and proactive and ethical with all of these digital tools? And then I love that idea. I think we need a subcommittee of YETI and YEA as well that forms together, right? And so the environmental group together with the YETI group forms a little subcommittee around this.
Emer?
I would say like what Trustee Roth was saying about the input. I have watched sort of videos on how the input and the way it is coded is actually racist and the sort of input that it is getting, and it has put out stuff like that. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind, as well as just in my personal experience with the people that I have known that I'm in contact with, my peers. A lot of them, it's like, oh, our teacher's like, oh yeah, let's use it for inspiration, but it's really like, that's really what's encouraged, but it's never being used that way. It's not. It's like, oh, this is the goal, this is the idea, but it's really not. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna take this, it's whatever, Or even when I've put in my own like writings of like, oh, how could I like, maybe this isn't exactly the tone I want. Maybe how would I do it in a different way? It just completely takes my work and makes it something that's like not even my own. It doesn't even sound like me or anything like that. It takes away from that. Yeah. Also, I think it would be important to see just how much of an impact us adopting it as a county would bring. Like one conversation with AI is like a water bottle's worth of water that is used. And so even like one person, that's an impact, but with us like adopting it community wide, like county wide, that would be so much more of an impact on the environment. With AI, I would say that when we were talking about, Google searches, I currently use the search platform Ecosia. I think that's how it's said. It's like ECESCOIA, something like that. Anyway, it like uses your searches to plant trees, and it doesn't automatically give that AI. So I think a lot of times that initial AI has people not doing any further research. Like even though it says, oh, I can't necessarily be trusted, like down in the corner, it's not actually, people aren't actually then going forward. There's an option to like, how there's like the images and just you can scroll to the side for any search you have. There is an AI option, but it doesn't automatically give that to you. So it gives you the opportunity to then go for more like doing your own research sort of thing. So I think that would probably be a more sustainable idea for a search engine, just because we do have like an already set like Google or something. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Martinez?
For me, one of like the concerns I may have was like I've heard cases of a student using AI for the whole work and the teacher using AI to grade the work. Like, so I'm like, how is that beneficial to anyone? I mean, that's the only thing that I would say. Obviously, yeah, like my trustee said, a lot of students do not use it the correct way. So probably like teaching them how to use it at a very young age. Also getting like more student input. For me, this is my opinion, like getting more student input onto how people can use it, how to train other students to use it, because it's not going anywhere. Like how we said, it's not going anywhere. Students are going to find new ways to use it. If the district or the county blocks a website, like let's say ChatGPT, there's new ones coming out almost every other day. There's gonna be a new AI to use. There's gonna be something new that we can use to get help. So getting like, oh, you could use it in this way and learning like since young, where it could be like in your mind, oh, let me use it this way. Is better than just saying you can't use it.
I think teaching kids to use it when young is particularly harmful because they are at such a developmental stage in their life. Like Stanford even had this thing that they're like, oh, kids shouldn't really be introduced to screens until the age of 5 because their brain doesn't need that such like stimulation because we're not really meant for that, you know? And it kind of takes away from our cognitive ability. Like, I don't know if you've heard about the like, especially younger generations that basically kind of grew up a bit during COVID. Like that's all they know. They are very behind in ways, you know, like educationally and just with social skills and stuff like that, especially because like these kids, they're growing up with basically always knowing internet and stuff like that and not really having a break from that or really sort of differentiation. Like I've heard multiple sort of like fear mongering stories, you know, about this guy who's like, oh, how do I treat this? And it told him to treat it using this very toxic thing. And he almost died. He got like septic and like had to go to the hospital. Because I think definitely with youth, it's very detrimental, especially because they're so impressionable and it is really teaching them to not necessarily use their brain. So I just think with youth, especially, it's not great.
Yeah, it's a very hot topic that applies to all of us. I think all of us, one way or another, are impacted by that, by generative AI and how much it's grown just these past couple of years. We have to move on, but before we do, I want to make sure that Van Allen has an opportunity to share as well.
Well, thank you for your presentation. And I also really appreciated all the board members' comments. I have a couple specific things, but I do want to second Ash's general thrust that there's a big problem here with the energy consumption, the environmental impacts, and what we're mostly focusing here, which is really social impacts. And it's a big unknown, but it's there. And I guess where I come down with it is that it's not going away. So we have to problem solve how we deal with it. And so in that sense, we have it. I've done a fair amount of work I developed software and I've used a couple different so-called AI tools that are designed around software. And one of the things I found is that, and this is a potential as a way to learn or a learning opportunity, is that crafting the prompts is really crucial to what results you get. And so and that's probably going to stay with AI for a while, even though AI you'll probably be able to eventually, or maybe even right away, say, AI, could you tell me what would be the best prompt to find out such and such? And it'll give you something and then but One of the things I've found is that with programming in particular, if you're really deep in it, you have to be pretty clear and pretty precise about what's supposed to happen or what's not supposed to happen. And that helped me learn my languages better because I had to learn how to describe what I was trying to solve. And if it's a complicated program, sometimes that takes a few paragraphs to say, this section is meant to do such and such, but I need tests to be sure that some other input isn't going to screw it up or something like that. And AI has been very useful, but it's also really misled me a couple times, and where I had to just abandon something that I had hours of work with the AI and start from scratch and do it myself. So there's definitely, it's not all there yet. My concerns, in addition to the kind of the bigger environmental and social impacts, first of all, are privacy. This is an area that it's so easy to slide into using AI for all kinds of things. And if you start revealing your own personal information, that is now out there in the world and could even be shown up in someone else's AI eventually, because the AI keeps tapping the internet and everything AI creates is going on the internet. So it's feeding on itself. So to me, the privacy aspects of at every age level have got to be primary to protect students and their families, and even protect the classroom experience. Secondly, it seems to me that a kind of an educational thrust would be the idea to put in students' minds of what is authorship? What does it mean if you have a paper that you submit or that you write for the newspaper or something like that, and you claim to be the author of it? What exactly is that? Because just like an artist could use some tool, some digital tool, and create amazing, good, true, emotionally evocative art, and they say, yeah, I did it and I used Photoshop, or whatever. That's legitimate, but that is the author acknowledging how they came to be, the artist, how they came to be the author of that work. And so authorship is maybe a concept that needs to be promoted more in this. And then the other thing with facts is I think we're all learning that if AI gives you some facts, you can't ask the same AI to verify them or what their sources are, because they'll make them up. And so fact checking, and what I tell students, and I've done this a couple of times, like in the Student Trustee Academy, is say, you've got to look for the facts that are somewhere not in the computer. That is, there's got to be, if there's a claim about some situation, somebody somewhere has paperwork about it on file, or there is a library that's got the actual book that covers that subject, as opposed to a made up excerpt or something. So being able to jump out of AI to get facts is, to me, a really important skill to include there. You can't just ask the computer again for verification. Everybody else has covered everything else I wanted to say, but anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Al.
Again, we could talk about this all day and still not be done, right? I feel like there's a lot to discuss. I think there's a couple of things that I also want to talk about as well. Going back to that, the last comment that Van Allen mentioned is the fact that I remember when Wikipedia came out. When Wikipedia came out, everybody was on board and said that you cannot source from, it's not a legitimate source. Like, you cannot reference Wikipedia. It's good, it's a good tool to use, but you cannot, like, be cautious, be wary of it. I feel like we don't get that with generative AI. Like, I don't feel like there's that consensus of like, oh, be cautious of what's there. Take it with a grain of salt. A lot of people take it as facts, and I think that's very dangerous. It's very fascinating to me that the same tool can lead to learning, or it can lead to unlearning, right? Like, it's the same tool. But there's a big difference between give me the answer versus explain the answer to me. And I just feel like it gives us what we want, and it just helps us grow in that sense, whether, again, it's to grow, to learn, or to not, to unlearn. So that to me, it's kind of hard to comprehend. I think a lot of people are using it, and I do have a lot of trust going back to that. A lot of people are making really big life choices based off of what generative AI tells them. This is my situation. Like, what do I do? Should I break up with them? Or should I, should I move to a different town? It's like there's these really big life choices that people are making, and they're basing it off of, what the generative AI tells them. And there's no disclaimer, right? I feel like, again, it's a lot of people take it for facts. And, we have psychologists, we have these people who spend years learning how to read people, learning how to listen, and help. And you don't get that through technology. You can't see someone's emotion, right? Like you just can't replace that, you know. But a lot of people are replacing it with generative AI. So again, there's a lot there, a lot of different topics, a lot of different questions that I think we're all going to continue to have and continue to learn to use. And then last one, because I just came up with another one. It just changes so rapidly and it changes so quickly. Like just this past week, I don't know what happened. Like there must have been an update, but now I'm getting a lot of these videos through Sora that are extremely realistic. And I feel like it's gone to the point where it's like, I can't tell the difference anymore. Like before you can say, oh, well, that's fake or that isn't fake. But now it's like, now I don't know. And I consider myself tech savvy. Like I consider myself as someone that like, okay, you can't fool me. But like I was fooled. And that's dangerous because now I can't trust anything. Like before, if you had a video, if you had a picture of somebody like that, that was evidence. Like you can't negate that. But now it's like, no, I can't. But there's people out there who, again, who just blindly trust. Oh, like, this is a picture or video that I saw. It must be true, but it can be easily manipulated. So, again, very fascinating. It's a topic that I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about for many years to come. It's going to continue to impact us as we learn how to deal with it and use it in our daily lives. And thank you guys, you know, for being here, for helping us navigate us in this crazy time of confusion and a lot of uncertainty. I think we're going to have to rely a lot more on you and your guys' expertise. Thank you. Thank you for what you do for us and for our students as well.
Thank you. It's an honor. We'll be back in 2 years with brand new updates on AI.
No. It's 6 months. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
In 2 years, you may not have to do it.
My AI will come, right?
Okay. Moving along, 10.3, we have a presentation now on the support efforts to ensure continuing of Encompass Community Services' Head Start program with our County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Sabah.
Yes, I was hoping to share a little bit about what is happening. You've probably been reading some information about Head Start. That is a program that has been impacted significantly by the federal administration's actions. Just as a reminder, the Head Start program is a federal program under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services that provides comprehensive early childhood education, health, nutrition, and parent involvement services to low-income children and families. In some counties, the County Office of Education runs Head Start, but in Santa Cruz County, they're run by Encompass Community Services, which is their office is right next door over here. It's the oldest and largest program of its kind, and here locally, it serves about 250 students in the Head Start program, and an additional 100 or 30 students in the early Head Start, which is the younger students. So what has happened is that in April, we started hearing that the federal administration was determined to make cuts to Head Start. And it was one of the recommended programs for elimination by the White House. There was a movement to take that program off of the list of potential programs that could be cut. In July, the Health and Human Services put out a memo stating that services were only for U.S. families, meaning that families that come from mixed status, who are mixed status families, would not be eligible to participate in the program. This was challenged in court and has not been resolved by the courts at this time. And so at this point, there is not authority for the administration to eliminate services to families based on their immigration status. One of the steps that the administration took was to lay off the federal technical assistance team that was stationed in California and assign a new technical assistance team in Oklahoma that has been applying new restrictive policies that have been impacting the local Head Start program. So in September, Encompass was notified by this new technical assistance team that they would not be able to utilize their carryover funds, which is something that every Head Start program in California has been using. It meant $2 million of unspent monies from last year would not be, they would not be able to use this year and would actually be returned to the federal government. They also were waiting for what they call a scope change because the utilization of the program was less than the funded amount. They were being funded at $10 million for a higher number of students to be served. However, they didn't have that many students being served. And so they had requested a scope change, which has in some cases been approved in other counties, saying, give us the same amount of money, but we'll serve less students because the costs of providing these services is higher in this area. And they were notified in that same meeting that the scope change had been denied, meaning that they were expected to lose $4 million from their budget allocation. At that point, the Head Start program was, because of the lack of the carryover funds, they had no cash to continue providing services, and they signaled to the community that they were planning on shutting down in early October. Now, the way Head Start programs work is if you shut down the program even for one day, it is considered a relinquishing of your program, which means that you no longer are a Head Start program. And that funding goes back to the federal government. And then they, instead of getting the funding year after year, they make it a competitive RFP process. And that's a situation that makes it more difficult and competitive. You're competing against other folks who are applying for the funding, and you never know year to year. Well, actually, I think it's a 5-year grant allocation, but every 5 years you have to apply for that funding. And so we recognize the importance at that time to not allow for the Head Start program to shut down. And so we worked with the Santa Cruz County and First Five to raise $362,000 to keep the program open through October 31st, so that there would not be a disruption to the program. That meant that we are contracting with Head Start to support the continuity of services through the end of the month. Now, the government shutdown has meant that Encompass has not received their award letter for the next cycle, which starts on November 1st. And so there is a possibility that if the government shutdown continues, the technical assistance team, which would provide that, is not working or answering phone calls at this time. And so, so that could mean that there would be a new shutdown that could occur on November 1st. Now, once the government reopens, we anticipate that Encompass and all the other programs that have November 1st opening dates would receive their award letter. And this would fund their services from November 1st forward at that lower $6 million rate, meaning that they would have to make reductions. Now, there's other partners such as Community Bridges that are interested in possibly taking over the program from Encompass at that lower rate. But at this point, that process could also mean relinquishing the program and going into a competitive RFP. So that's not something that we would want to occur in terms of the competitive RFP process. But if there is a way for the handoff to happen, then that's something that we would want to support. Now, this is not something that we did budget for, and so it is important that that you be notified of this new contract that will be on the agenda or as part of our budget updates at the next board meeting. But I wanted to give you an update about this. We've been working closely with Head Start and supporting them in terms of their communication to the community, working with the county, and the importance of the hundreds of families that could be impacted. Imagine if a low-income family that relies on these effective preschool services, if that program were to go away, how that would affect the family, their income, their livelihood, and of course the care for their children is something that we feel is of the highest importance, and we feel it's part of our responsibility to support these families and support this program to ensure continuity of services for the students and families that they serve. And so I'd like to ask if you have any questions.
Thank you for that update. So the current funding that we are participating in is through the end of October. If the federal government still is down beginning November 1st, are they not in the same situation? And what is the plan for that?
So it's a little bit different. They would be in a different situation if they do not open November 1st. It would not mean a relinquishing because they would be doing it because they have not been funded by the federal government. And so that would not mean a relinquishing of their federal grant because they wouldn't have a federal grant. So we believe that what would happen is that the program would have to be closed and then would open once, and they would be able to continue providing services once the federal government opens and they receive their letter. And so, but if had they closed during their service period that they were funded for, then that would have been a relinquishing of the program. So it's bad news and it's going to be very detrimental for families, but it would not mean that the program would cease.
So it's just intended to be a bridge so that they would not be forfeiting the program. So
I think in the best case scenario is that before November 1st, that the government were to reopen and that the funding were to be provided, the funding allocation were to be provided, and that there would be no disruption. The second the second kind of best case scenario would be that the program continues through November 1st. There is a temporary shutdown until the government reopens, they get their funding and they reopen as soon as they're able to. And then, of course, you know, the worst case scenario in our mind is that somehow there would be, the federal government would consider it that they have relinquished their program and the program would go back because it'll take some time for them to issue an RFP and for a program like Community Bridges to be able to apply for that funding. So that could mean a year or so of no services to these families. Now, one of the backup plans that we do have is that several districts have state preschool programs as well as TK programs that could serve these students, and they have space in them. And so we have reached out, and the programs are very interested in taking the students and possibly taking staff, because in many cases, having qualified preschool teachers, TK teachers, the folks who could take on a new class of students they're in high demand, and so there are some alternative solutions that we're looking at to support these families.
Sorry, you mentioned state preschool? Is that what you said, funding state?
Correct. So that, for example, PVUSD has a robust state preschool program, and our understanding is that they have available spaces for some of the students that they would be able to take in into the state preschool program.
Okay. Not keeping the current sites, but allowing the sites that PVUSD has. Okay.
Right.
Van Allen, questions, comments? No? Okay. Yep, I guess that was my question, was what other resources are out there? If there's anything from the state. So it's good to hear that there's other resources. I think location is also very important. So limiting disruption as much as possible. And I'm glad to hear that there is a plan B, but you know, if the Head Start program just happens to be down the street, but the PVUSD is several blocks away, then it just like is a little bit, can be a little bit more challenging, a little bit different. One of the questions that I did have is, I know that Encompass does a lot more than just the Head Start program. Like they also play a big role in affordable housing, amongst other things. So this reduction from 10 million to 6 million, that's enough to continue at least the Head Start program in some form or another?
So they're, you know, keeping in the same way that we try to do with our restricted funding. They really try to, and I see Melissa Lopez here. She is one of the great champions that makes sure that we spend the funds based on what our grants allow us to spend the funds. And so, and that's really important to stay in compliance, to make sure, because otherwise we, you know, that could put us in a situation where we would lose the funds. And so Encompass does that. They have an allocation. They use their Head Start funds for Head Start services. So the $10 million to $6 million, they don't want to or unable to take funding from another part of their program, which makes sense. And so they would have to make reductions. That means less programs. That means combining centers. It means letting go of leases that they would have to basically curtail the expenditures, to limit and reduce their expenditures to be able to work within these new means that they're being afforded by the government.
Okay.
So the program will most likely look very different than it currently does. And that does mean that there will be a reduction in staff, and we're committed to supporting them in finding appropriate work opportunities.
Okay. Early childhood education, I think, is very important. I think there's multiple studies and that have shown that the importance of having students learning at a young age, preparing them for school. And I think it's unfortunate. I think it gets overlooked a lot. I think that early childhood staff don't get paid very well either for the amount of work and impact that they have. Like, I don't think there's a big correlation there, but I think that's a whole nother story. But I'm glad to hear that we as a COE see the value of this program, and not only us, but the county as well, other organizations like First Five, and that we are getting together and helping in supporting them. Like, I'm really happy to hear that. Yes, go ahead.
It was kind of answered-ish where you said like we'd support them by taking them. Well, you're saying it's not completely determined that we take them into our pre-K programs. And then you said most. I think it's really important, especially because they are low-income families, that like even missing one day of work could be like completely detrimental to them. So I think there's a way that I don't think most is really enough. I think it has to be a way to make sure every single student is able to be taken care of.
Agreed. That's exactly what we're hoping to do. And the way, since we don't offer those programs, these are offered by other service providers. What we see would be our role would be to identify the locations where there are openings and connecting students and families to those openings, helping to communicate with families to minimize the disruptions. And because as President Sanchez said, the importance of these programs is also not only the educational experience, it's also the nutrition, it's the family component, the engagement, the navigation of resources, everything from Second Harvest Food Bank resources. So these are important safety net systems. Students also get to qualify for, can be identified for special education services at an early age. These are fundamental safety net programs. So I agree with Student Trustee Moore. We need to do everything we can to ensure that our families are and these children are getting the services they deserve.
Okay, thank you. No more questions or comments, then we will move on to new business in action. We'll start with 11.1, the appointment of the Associate of California County Board of Education Board Representative. We, as a board, talked several months back as to whether we wanted to join this organization, the ACCBE. We chose to enroll, and since then we have been involved, and one of their asks is to elect a representative of the board. And I believe Trustee Larson is the one that has had the most experience, has been the one who's attended several of their meetings, several of the services that they offer. So I'm curious to know a little bit more as to what you know of this position, of what the commitments are.
It's a very low-level time commitment. You'll basically get an email every week. They're thematic, a different one each week. They ask that board members under your board member reports highlight ACCBE, whatever the acronym is, events that are coming up just to encourage other board members to go. I have attended about a dozen of them. And I've generally found them to be good. It's really trustee to trustee. So that makes it interesting. But I'll attend the ones that are of interest to me anyway. So if another board member would like to jump in and take the representational role, I think it'd be great for us to have a couple touches with ACCBE on the board. So I wasn't going to volunteer unless no one else wanted.
Those things you attended, are those virtual? Or-
They're all virtual. Being a board representative, their goal is to have one, maybe two meetings in person a year. That hasn't gelled yet. Don't know the timing of it, but that was talked about at one session.
Questions, comments from the board on what that looks like? Any more?
Can you explain to me what the program is and what it will do?
Sure. We're part of the California School Boards Association, which includes the 58 county boards of education, as well as however many hundred or thousand local school districts there are. So like the Pajaro Valley School Board and the Santa Cruz City Schools. There used to be a separate organization affiliated with CSBA that only represented county school board members. That kind of semi-independent group has gone away, and it's been brought more fully into CSBA's line of services, which are great as well. Nonetheless, some people that were involved in the prior grouping of just county school boards have set up a separate nonprofit that only represents county school boards of association. And its mission seems to be primarily training that's targeted for county school board members and legislation, but they're just starting the legislative process now. And it's kind of representing that county boards are a bit different than regular school boards. And so they're trying to bring voice to that. We as a board chose to join this startup group, A, because it was cheap, and B, because county boards are different. And what I've personally found to be the best benefit from it is the trustee to trustee sharing.
Yep.
And I think they also hosted student trustees session that you were both invited to about a month or two ago. I think that was put on by ACCE. I don't know if either of you were able to attend. It was a Zoom workshop for student trustees from across the state. Andres was.
No, I think that it was an invitation for a future meeting where they, Andres was looking for students to go to be on a panel, I believe, to speak as representatives of county boards. I believe that hasn't happened yet.
For ACCBE?
I think that's
Did
what,
either of you get any information from Andres about a future panel?
I also recall discussing a future panel opportunity with Andres. I wasn't aware of anything recent, so I'll confirm that with him, but that's my understanding as well.
I do believe trustee Larson is correct. ACCBE did offer sort of a new student trustee kind of situation. And I think that's why it's important that we have someone associated with the organization so that when these events come up, we can share them along. But even when I saw the notification, I think it was like a week before. I got an email, it was like a week before. And I really quickly thought, oh, I wonder if they got it, and came in and just, but
Yep.
that's an importance for us being on a board and being connected so that we don't miss these kinds of things and we stay involved and active.
Thank you,
So-
trustees. And just to add, we will look into that and make sure it's on our calendars for next year. So if we missed it, we will certainly
We're
not miss
still
it
around
again.
here.
Thank you for highlighting that.
New organization, who knows?
Yeah. I think it's important to reiterate that we as members, any of us and all of us can attend,
Yes.
any of these events. We're not limiting it to a person, it's more just having a name to kind of represent our county in more of like the state level. I think that's what they're looking for there. So again, it's open to anybody that would like to attend. I do think because it's information sharing, I do think it's important for somebody that is actively attending. I think that would be the most effective. way to be able to be a representative so that this information can be relayed to the board. Roth, question, comment?
These two, CSBA and CCDE, are coming together in its flux. And I do think it's important that we be really representative in both. And thank you for being so on it. But it'd be interesting because I don't know that it's going to stay the same. I think we're going to see changes where one may become training, one may become legislative. We don't know, but I'm grateful that you're helping.
Programs that look interesting, I just go to because I can.
Yep. I think that's a key point to mention. The ACCBE has been around a year, maybe two, whereas CSBA has been around, I don't even know how long, before any of us were born, probably. Is there, okay, any other questions or comments from the board? If not, is there a nomination? Somebody who volunteers? Any? Okay.
I'm doing SCUSBA and that. They're both pretty low work. SCUSBA's once a quarter. That's county school board members.
Okay.
And then I'm willing to do it, but if somebody else wants to.
Okay, perfect. No, we have a motion by Bruce, a second by Ash. And all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Perfect. Passes unanimously. Congratulations, Larson. We look forward to finding out when the next student trustee meeting is at the county and all the other trainings and services that they offer. 11.2 now, we have the resolution 25-40, the GAN amendments of the appropriation limits. And for this one, we have Melissa Lopez.
Is this one on? Are we good? Okay. Dr. Sabah, President Sanchez, members of the board, thank you for having me here tonight with this audience. I once again get to come to you at the end of the evening after lots of really fun presentations and conversations and get to talk to you about the GAN amendment appropriations limit. This is what we usually refer to as a housekeeping item. This is an ed code requirement that we bring you this resolution every year. The GAN limit was originally Proposition 4 back in November of 1979. Last year, when the GAN limit turned 45, we had cake. So I think we'll do it at 5-year intervals. So when GAN turns 50, we'll have the cake again. So in November of 1979, the GAN limit established a limit on the amount of tax money that state and local governments, including school districts, can legally spend. The calculation is adjusted annually for changes in inflation and population. The GAN limit calculations are performed not only at the agency level, but also at the state level. Therefore, if an agency is determined to be over their GAN limit, the agency may adopt a governing board resolution increasing the GAN limit by the amount needed. The agency would then need to notify the director of the State Department of Finance, who would in turn reduce the state's GAN limit by an equal dollar amount. To calculate the GAN limit, you can envision the dollar amounts as a bucket. We'll say, for instance, the bucket can hold $50 million. First, you would add in your local property taxes included in your local control funding formula. Then you would add in the district's all the other unrestricted state aid into this same bucket. The amount of state aid that would fill up the bucket counts towards the school's GAN limit, while the amount of any overflow from the bucket would count towards the state's GAN limit. By reducing the amount of the state aid that counts toward the state limit, in this manner, the process helps the state to avoid being over its GAN limit. In your packet, you'll see the SACS form GAN, and the numbers that are listed are highlighted for your 24-25 from our unaudited actuals and for our 25-26 anticipated GAN limit. So for the 24-25, the appropriations limit was $19,730,203.47. The 24-25 inflation rate of 3.62, the population adjustment of 98.6 for the COE's ADA, and 96.77 for the county ADA, since overall ADA enrollment have declined. And our 25-26 preliminary apportionments, our preliminary appropriations limit is $20,835,712.78. That is all. Any questions about the GAN limit or SACS form GAN?
Questions, comments?
With the resolution.
Okay. We have a first from Van Allen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Williams. Because this is a resolution, we do need to have a roll call vote. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Student trustee Guillen Martinez. Student trustee Amor.
Aye.
Trustee Kyle.
Aye.
Trustee Larson.
Aye.
Trustee Roth.
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen. Vice President Williams.
Yes.
President Sanchez.
Yes. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Resolution 25-41, recognizing United Against Hate Week. And for this one, we have our trustee Larson.
Well, I'll just introduce the 4 remaining resolutions as chair of the Community Outreach and Legislation Committee. One of our resolutions has already been heard. We have one other new resolution that will come at the end, and we have 3 that have been heard by the board in prior years. And this first one, Resolution 2541, was discussed last week, which was Trustee Amor's first meeting with the committee. And he made substantive changes to the resolution, and I've invited him to present the resolution and to make its motion tonight. Trustee Amor.
So resolution number 25-41 is recognizing United Against Hate Week. Basically, we recognize that hate has no place in our society, and least of all on our school campuses. Basically, we come together to reject hatred, racism, prejudice, violence, and bullying in all forms, and are committed to ensuring our schools are safe and welcoming spaces for learners of all identities. We are encouraging recognition of United Against Hate Week at all schools within our community from Sunday, October 19th, 2025 through Saturday, October 25, 2025. And I would say this resolution is especially important at this time and place because of the growing sort of hate towards certain groups. And I think it's really important to make sure that our schools are a safe place for everybody, no matter their identity or like who they are, or what their background is.
Thank you.
And if I would just highlight the whereas and the be it further resolved that are focused on bullying as a form of hate came out of Trustee Amor's.
Any comments from the board? Any questions? No.
If we could defer to Trustee Amor.
Absolutely.
All motion.
Perfect. We have a first and a second. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Student trustee Guillen Martinez. Student trustee Amor.
Aye.
Trustee Kyle.
Aye.
Trustee Larson.
Aye.
Trustee Roth.
Aye.
Trustee Van Allen. Vice President Williams.
Yes.
President Sanchez.
Yes, it passes unanimously. Thank you. Next resolution that we have is 25-42, recognizing November as National Homeless Youth Awareness Month.
This is a resolution that's been adopted by the board previously, and it's brought back forward to you again tonight on recommendation of the committee. The only substantive change this year is adding the federal clause that we've been adding since early in the year, recognizing that federal budget policy and staffing changes are putting so many in our community at risk and facing fear and uncertainties. So we've added that clause here, and it comes to you from the committee with the recommendation for approval. Also move.
Any questions or comments? If not, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Student trustee Guillen Martinez.
Aye.
Student trustee Amor. Trustee Kyle. Trustee Larson.
Aye.
Trustee Roth.
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen. Vice President Williams.
Yes.
President Sanchez.
Yes. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next one, we have 25-43, recognizing National Native American Heritage Month.
This resolution and the final one will be presented by trustee Van Allen.
Thank you. The committee looked at this. It's one that we have included in past resolution or kept past board action. And I think probably this board doesn't need much explanation about this, but the legacy of colonialism and the idea that you can own land that you stole from someone else. And I think of those things every day because that still shapes the world that we live in. And it still hurts some people. So to me, it's very important that we recognize not just quote unquote Native American contributions, but recognize the real history of how our culture came to occupy this space. So this is really important to me personally. And I expect the board will pretty much agree with me. So but happy to take questions if anybody needs any clarification or anything.
Questions, comments from anybody on the board? If not, is there a motion?
I'll move the motion, the resolution.
Second.
First and second from Kyle. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Student trustee Guillen Martinez. Student trustee Amor. Trustee Kyle.
Aye.
Trustee Larson.
Aye.
Trustee Roth.
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen.
Aye.
Vice President Williams.
Yes.
President Sanchez.
Yes. Passes unanimously. Thank you. And then we have one more resolution on the agenda, 25-44, recognizing School Psychology Week. For that one, do we have, I believe it's Van Allen who's going to talk to us about it.
Well, it's interesting because National School Psychology Week has actually been around for a long time. And in the committee, we took note of the fact that these days there isn't always a quote unquote school psychologist. On the other hand, what our county and I hope other counties and education systems are doing is we are increasingly paying attention to social emotional learning and to mental health of our students. And so whether there is somebody in a position of school psychologist at Bayview Elementary or not, it's still that school is addressing these concerns. And so kind of in the broader sense of what it means to have a school psychologist, I recommend that we pass this resolution and honor that profession and its important role in our schools.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay. Second from Roth. Any questions or comments? If not, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Student trustee Guillen Martinez. Student trustee Amor.
Aye.
Trustee Kyle.
Aye.
Trustee Larson.
Aye.
Trustee Roth.
Yes.
Trustee Van Allen.
Aye.
Vice President Williams.
Yes.
President Sanchez.
Yes. Passes unanimously. Thank you. With that, we finish our new business. And now we're moving on to 12, Superintendent's Report.
Yes, thank you, President Sanchez, and thank you for allowing me to provide a update of a superintendent's update to the board. Recently, we've been providing updates on the federal impacts on education. And you've seen this chart before, though it continues to evolve on an ongoing basis. The most recent edition has been the government shutdown impacts, which is on the left side now. But it is tied closely to discretionary spending. So the budget that the House and the Senate have not agreed on is the funding for government spending, which includes the 12 to 16% of educational funding that schools receive, as well as programmatic funding like Head Start. And so this disruption has a short-term impact, which I'll be sharing, but also, of course, we are looking to what discretionary spending will look like for the future. Most of the funding we get is what we call forward funded or funded in advance, meaning that the funding that we are currently utilizing for our schools was approved last year. And so the disruption is not affecting the majority of the programs that we have in place. So most California schools and students will not see an immediate change to the government shutdown impacts. For the impacts of the government shutdown, most of the funding will continue to flow. However, 87% of the U.S. Department of Education staff have been furloughed, and which means that there are no new grants and also no civil rights investigations occurring at this point. We also learned this last weekend, that a large portion of U.S. Department of Education staff have been permanently laid off. So we anticipate that those folks who are responsible for, once Congress does approve our federal funding, the folks that are going to put together those award letters, that are going to calculate the formulas, that are going to let us know how much IDEA funding, how much Title I funding, if those folks are no longer in the office, we're concerned about long-term impacts. We already talked about Head Start and how those many centers, including the ones in Santa Cruz County, are funded through the end of October. And we're concerned about what will happen to those programs if the shutdown extends past November 1st. I already talked about funding for students with disabilities that will continue. However, the Office of Civil Rights, which investigates complaints where the civil rights of students have been violated, those investigations have been paused. Currently, programs for homeless students, those continue to be funded, but any new grants have been delayed. And we are seeing that there are some higher education impacts. Pell Grants and student loans are unaffected. However, several programs higher education programs are being disrupted, including research and pay for some staff at higher education positions. We anticipate that there will be delays in financial aid awards for the 2026-27 cycle, possibly early childhood services and nutrition programs as a result of the shutdown, and also the recommendations we're hearing from our leaders in terms of what they're planning to do once the discretionary budgets are approved. I wanted to share with you some of the legislative update related to education. The governor has signed the bills, several bills, dozens of bills, and I wanted to share with you a short summary of which bills have been approved and how they will impact our schools. I'll keep it real brief, but you can look these up or ask for a deeper kind of explanation about all these different bills. The first one is AB 49, which limits immigration agents or ICE access to our schools without a judicial warrant. This is already our protocol, but this strengthens those limitations. SB 98, which requires notifications. If there is immigration action around schools, we are required to notify our communities, students, parents, staff, and the community at large if there is any immigration action. And AB 495 expands the caregiver rights and to protect families' information, and also formalizes a lot of the child care safety plan affidavits that allow families to identify caring adults that can help care for their children in case they are detained or otherwise unable to care for their children. When it comes to some safety and inclusion and well-being programs, there's a AB 727, which requires the Trevor Project hotline to be added to ID cards to support LGBTQ students to ensure that they're getting the services that they deserve. There's AB 715, which is a new provision that that requires that all content in the classroom be based on, help me out here, Marcia. It's based on, Nick? No, this is based in fact. That's the term that is used, which is a term that is extremely unclear. This item, this bill has been opposed by every educational organization, by the county superintendents, by CTA, because of the lack of clarity of what based in fact means. The concern is that it's going to have a chilling effect on free speech within classrooms and what contents what kind of materials we'll be able to utilize. The intent was to limit anti-Semitism in the classrooms and in materials. It also establishes a new office, a state office of civil rights for schools. But there is concerns about and in fact, the governor, when he signed this bill, stated that there's going to have to be, they're required to have additional legislation to clarify the contents of this bill, which in itself is problematic. SB 510, African American history, requires inclusion of African American contributions in early California history to be included. SB 19 makes violent threats towards locations, daycare, schools, universities, workplaces, houses of worship, and medical facilities a crime. Currently, there is a loophole that said if you couldn't tie a threat to a person, then it wasn't a crime. And so if somebody makes a threat towards a physical space, it is now considered a crime in itself. There is AB 1454, which is literacy reform, expanding phonics-based reading. This is about the science of reading. AB 1123, which is teacher credentialing, adds early childhood educators to the California teacher credentialing process. AB 1264 phases out ultra-processed foods and when it comes to nutrition in schools. And SB 640, which now will automatically admit eligible students to CSU campuses without having to complete an application, which is very exciting. These are vetoed bills. And I thought, hold on one second. I think that there was one that there it is. AB 1390, which increases the minimums for board member compensation. And so that is something that also passed. Now, the vetoed bills that are of importance is SB 414, which is for charter accountability. It was one of two charter accountability bills, one that never made it to the governor, the other one that did make it to the governor and was vetoed, and would have tightened charter oversight and also addressed the limits that has been put on the establishment of non-classroom based charters that is going to expire in December 31st of this year. That means that new charters could apply for non-classroom based charters, and that is going to occur starting January 1st. And so there was hope that this accountability bill and or a bill would help ensure that the implementation of these non-classroom based charters is done in a way that was compliant with the law and in the best interest of students. Another bill that was vetoed by the governor, which was supported by all the educational institutions, including the California Teachers Association and the county superintendents, was AB 1224, which would have, I'm sorry, it was not supported by the California Teachers Association. I apologize, but by AXA and other entities, would have allowed for schools to hire substitute teachers for 60 days instead of 30 days. That was vetoed by the governor, and that's of course the reason for this bill was because of the teacher shortage in key positions that we are experiencing currently. Some COE updates. Our amazing business services program, including our Melissa Lopez, who's here in the worked on a variety of different things, have been very busy preparing our internal budgets and also notifying our districts of their unaudited actual certification letters. This is a process we do where we look at their at how well they did in 24-25 and in terms of and looked at what their unaudited actuals look like and let them know if what they thought they had spent and what they and what revenue they received and how well their reserves are looking. And so these letters were sent out to all of our districts this week. Our educational services team has been working diligently with districts to support differentiated assistance districts and providing a wide range of support. I think this is the most active we've ever been in providing support to districts, and it's very exciting that we are being welcomed with open arms and in a wonderful kind of program improvement, or I should say, the science of some improvement science approach to ensure that we are working with the district, listening to their vision and the opportunities and strengths of the district, and really complementing that with coaching and support and technical assistance to help them and continue to make improvement in supporting students and student achievement. We're seeing some of the results of our in mathematics, for example, for many of our districts, and which is really exciting. You already heard about the formation of the Superintendent Students Advocacy Council, and you met them today, and it's an amazing, powerful group of students. In addition to our two student trustees who are part of the council as well, I think this is going to be a powerful group that inspires me as we face many challenges, and knowing that we have their leadership, their voice, and working with them. I did want to also share with you that we are reestablishing or kind of coming together again for the African American Student Achievement Committee. This was a committee that was established in 2019 by me because we identified concerns from the African American students and families about the experience that students in our county were experiencing in our schools, and to identify recommendations for schools to support students. We've continued to hear, as Trustee Moore was talking about, the concerns about bullying that is occurring for our African American students, as well as, of course, our LGBTQ plus students, and we have a sense of urgency to address these concerns and wanting to ensure that we are supporting our students and doing everything we can to ensure that they are safe. The new assessments, the state assessments, the CAS results have been publicly released, and perhaps the Agenda Committee would consider having Dr. Russell come and provide a presentation at a future board meeting to let you know how well we're doing as a county, and maybe with a breakdown of our different subcommittees. There's some good news and some not so good news, and as always with this kind of high level data. But I think it is helpful to take a look at how we are doing compared to the state, and looking at how our achievement gap is doing, and I think in some cases some of the results of the efforts of the school districts who are working very hard to do their best with our support to improve student achievement. Wanted to let you know about some exciting activities, events that are taking place. This Saturday we will be, CAB is celebrating its 60th year anniversary or celebration that will be taking place. I'm not sure if any of you are going to be there to join me at the event, but it'll be great to see you there if you've already signed up. I know that there's a waiting list, I believe, for this event, so it's high demand. We already talked about United Against Hate Week. Thank you for approving that resolution, and Nick has been working on updating our school toolkit to ensure that to support schools to implement this United Against Hate Week. We're happy to hear that schools are not just thinking about it as a one-week activity, but really just an opportunity to highlight, but something that is work that we will continue to do on an ongoing basis. And this was something discussed among the superintendents of all the school districts. We're also going to be enjoying College and Career Family Night on October 20th. And we are partnering to screen The Mask You Live In, which is a movie or a featured film that is about the different pressures that young people, especially young males in our society, the loneliness epidemic that is impacting the wellness and health of the mental health of our youth. And encourage you to participate. This will be screened at Green Valley Cinema. And also we are partnering with Cabrillo College on a Cabrillo Indigenous Education collaboration convening. Which will be taking place at Aptos. And so when you look at the slide deck, you'll be able to click on each of these items and get more information for if you're able and willing to participate. And that is it for my update. I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions, thoughts? Yes.
Question is more like a comment. I really like the proposition, the SB spits 40.
Oh,
That one is like, again, I think it's going to get more people like interested in college. Because one of my things right now is I'm applying to college. Like, I'm probably gonna get into the ones that I want to, but like, my mind tells me, "Are you gonna get into them?" It's like I know I am, but it's like for that, it's gonna help a lot of people like actually want to go to college, knowing that obviously I think there's requirements to be able to do that, right? Yeah, if you have the requirements to know if you could get into it. For me, I like CSU's because it's cheaper, but and like a lot of people that think like me, they're gonna be really interested in college. And I feel like it's very happy because I don't think there's a lot of college like it's the college application that people actually attend.
That's absolutely, if I may, absolutely true. And I think that this is part of that great collaboration with the community colleges as well. More students are choosing that route to go to the community college for 2 years and then transferring. And the idea is as you said, eliminating those obstacles, those that are in the way for folks not having to complete an application as long as you've completed the requirements and those A through G requirements. By completing the information, the profile on the CSU website, the universities that have open spots would send a notification to let students know that these are the universities that have space for you. That's correct. Fall of 2027.
I'll be able to get into it, but at least for other people, it can be very like helpful.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, let's move on to the trustee reports. And we will start with Roth. Trustee Roth.
Both Greg and I attended Santa Cruz Shakespeare's Sir Harold and the Boys, which is part of Shakes EDU. Was phenomenal. And it was a program that was offered with, I think they did Midsummer Night's Dream and also Sir Harold was offered to our high schools in the area, and they it was, and it was especially Sir Harold. It was a tricky subject, and not a pin could be heard in that audience. And it just emphasized for me how important the arts are for our students. We all learn in different ways. And to see the apt attention of high schoolers at 10 o'clock in the morning was incredible. And this Santa Cruz Shakespeare organization is offering all sorts of programs, and it's growing, and it's for students. So I recommend it enough. Greg and I went to the Democratic Club of North Santa Cruz County, who wanted to know all about the Santa Cruz theory, and I think we did a good job. No, they were pleased with their questions answered. Also, Rachel and I held a meeting about superintendent's compensation. Anyway, and just a shout out to Santa Cruz City Schools being recognized nationally for their nutrition program. Yay, and especially since we're passing state things about appropriate foods, and Santa Cruz out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Larson.
Didn't get my write-up in time, so I'll do it after the fact. And I'll just try to mention some things that I don't think anybody else from the board was at. CASA did its annual event at the house at Cabrillo, and it was a wonderful event. And it was the first of 2 raffles I won this past month. Nexties had its first ever Earth and Sea celebration. And I bring it up here because the youngest recipient was the science fair winner from last year, who went on to place 3rd in the nation. And she was one of the honorees at the Nexties Earth and Sea. I was at the Diversity Center Gala on last Saturday night, I guess it was. And then the very next morning went to the Baymek brunch over in San Jose. And it was great to see Trustee Moore there, as well as several other students from Santa Cruz County, who one of the teacher coaches had brought a handful of students, I guess. It was just great to have Santa Cruz well represented there. So I'll stop there.
Trustee Kyle.
I attended last Saturday a dyslexia simulation at the Santa Cruz County Public Library branch of the Live Oak Annex, which is my first time visiting that. Didn't to say that since I live in Live Oak, but it got me there. It was a fascinating, interactive, rotation-based experience where, and I apologize, I don't know the name of the group that actually hosted it, but they had stations set up. There were 6 total. I could only go through the first rotation of 3. And it was to simulate, including role playing of the adults facilitators at each of the table, what the experience of being a child with dyslexia would go through in a classroom in 3 different areas, one being writing, one reading, and one listening. And I could spend a lot of time talking about it, but let me just say it gave me a lot of empathy for children because diagnosis can come at any age. It's easy to, they said 1 in 5 people has dyslexia. And I mean, I know of stories where people make it to adulthood before they've been diagnosed. So just this was sort of elementary aged activities. My other takeaway was all of the good intention and well-meaning habits and mannerisms that teachers have that actually can be very disruptive to children who have this, special ability actually, where, you're really trying to focus either on your hearing or your seeing or your reading. And okay, make sure you do a good job. It's going to be hung up on the walls for back to school night. Or how's it coming? You should be on the 3rd row by now. And I am just like ready to just throw my pencil down. I just can't handle it anymore. And so it really gave me a lot of empathy for the kids going through it. And also, I thought every teacher in the county should sit through this. Most of the people in attendance were parents of students with dyslexia. There were, I think, 3 educators in the room, and I know they got a lot out of it too. And I hope that they host this again at other branches, because it was fascinating, and I would highly recommend anyone who wants a glimpse into their life to attend. It was really great.
Trustee Van Allen.
Just some committee work with, and appreciating Trustee Larson and our staff for their help on that.
Trustee Williams.
So attended Assemblymember Pellerin's 2nd annual Mental Health Heroes celebration that took place near the courthouse, and they had several booths from providers, and it's a rotating location because of the area that she covers. So this year it was here in Santa Cruz. Next year will be, I believe she said, Gilroy. But just, local, mental health heroes, including students that were honored for the work that they do in their schools. And so that was really nice to be a part of and see. Attended the Superintendent Compensation Review Committee. And even though it's an ad hoc and it doesn't happen very often, we have to name a chair, so I took the role. It's pretty easy. And then attended also the Santa Cruz Diversity Gala this past weekend, and really missed sitting at the COE table because I know how much fun they have. I won one too. I never win. I said I'm going to buy tickets. I never win, but it's okay. It's a good cause, and I won something, so I was really excited. And that was the activities I've.
Okay, thank you. Libraries. I've just learned to, what's the word? Relearn to appreciate them, I guess. Been spending a lot of time with them. Yeah, public libraries. I feel like they're just very comforting. They're a good resource for our communities. So actually been spending a lot of time in Watsonville, Aptos, Capitola, Garfield Park on West Side. I don't know if you guys have ever been to that one, but it's so cozy and amazing. And I just really like them. I enjoy them. It's my place of peace. They're always so quiet, which I really enjoy and appreciate. And I say that because I think these past 2 months have been a little hectic, a little challenging for me. Not being able to do as much as I would like to do with with our students. I think work is a big challenge there. I think in my personal life as well. I am, next time you see me, the next time we have our meeting in November, I'm going to be a married man. So there's a lot of effort that's going into that and taking up a lot of my time. So instead of saying
contagious around here.
Instead of something in the water, for sure. So instead of mentioning the events that I did not attend, I will mention the upcoming events that I wish I could attend, in the hopes that somebody can join and kind of represent the COE. So the first one is actually tomorrow, October 17th, in Watsonville High School. They're having a ribbon cutting for their athletic field. It's part of their Measure M that was passed a couple of years ago, raising funds so that PVUSD schools can work on infrastructure, can work on their campuses. And they're going to have a ribbon cutting tomorrow, October 17th, 4 to 5 p.m. Another event that I have attended in the past that I've really enjoyed is PVUSD has a State of the District, and that one will be held November 17th, a Monday. It's from 8:30 to 10 a.m. Highly recommend it. It's something that is very inspiring, being able to hear from the superintendent how the district is doing, seeing some of the students, hearing from them, and More often than not, they have performances as well. So it's really well done. They really enjoy attending that one and would encourage anybody who can to attend that one as well. And that's what I have for my report. Any ad hoc standing committee reports?
Let's report really quickly on the Committee for Superintendent Salary Compensation Review Committee. Met with Leanne, Troy, and Sue this past week, and we hope to have a formal recommendation next meeting with, backup documentation, amazing information that that both Leanne and Troy put together. So that will be.
Perfect. Larson?
I think the Community Engagement and Legislation Committee will have to get a little more formalized as we've quickly grown from 2 to 5 members with our both student trustees joining the committee. So we'll need to go to a more standardized schedule that works instead of just doing it by email as we've done. Plus, Superintendent Sabah, we've only done one piece of legislation this year, and that was the Workforce Educators Bill that came from CSBA. There are so many great bills up there that you listed, some of which I saw get announced as they were being passed or vetoed. I wonder if there's a way we could draw from the county superintendent's bills of particular import, and it would be the committee's job to think which ones do we think have particular resonance, and maybe bring some of those forward.
Absolutely. I am a member of the legislative committee for the county superintendents. And so, of course, since the legislative process just finished, when it restarts and the bills start up again, the county superintendents provide summaries with support or, they're kind of the stance that they have with regard to that legislation. I'd be happy to share that with the committee to decide if you'd like to take a position.
And even star the ones that you think may be particularly relevant for us to consider. Last thing is adding another meeting to your schedule. Your staff handles the committee great, but I think if we had that input from you, it'd be tremendous. Like you did on the Ruby Bridges resolution. That was great to get.
Yeah.
Okay. If no other standing committees.
I would like to just congratulate our 2 staff members who have tied the knot with separate people. Important to note. Nick, who recently got married to Lori and had a wonderful honeymoon in Montreal, and congratulations. And of course, Berenice Valentin and Jesse Figueroa, who also tied in on a little earlier. So really just very happy for them and as they embark in this new chapter of their lives. And I'm sure board members with lots of years of experience can provide some guidance on the challenges and wonderful future opportunities that of this new chapter in your lives. But congratulations, and so happy for your happiness. Thank you, and of course to President Sanchez, who is also soon going to be joining this group.
Thank you. Reminder of our upcoming meetings. We have our next regularly scheduled meeting for November 20th, a Thursday, 5:30. And then after that, December 18th, 2025. And with that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.